What's the mindset and approach you took to get to the positions you're in today?
I have a mindset you only lose if you quit. Well, I became a millionaire at the age of 19. 911 turbo, 4-bedroom detached house in the south. If you can't make money having been born right now with the opportunities that you've got, then you are destined to fail.
So were you rocking up to college in a 911 turbo?
I was.
What would you say is the biggest thing you learned from that period?
Getting scammed at the end of it.
What do you mean?
The business partner screwed me, run the business to the ground, stole from me. What's amazing about being absolutely wiped out is it's a blessing. You always have that nagging question in the back of your head. What was it like?
Understand that failure is not a bad thing.
You deserve exactly where you are in life because of the actions you took to be here. You're a consequence of everything you have decided to do with your life and the decisions you've made. The worst business mistake you can possibly make
is what is the correct way to go around balancing a relationship.
Right partner is the most influential and important decision you can make as a man to support not only you, but your business and every future decision of your life. You get the wrong one, you completely sabotage the whole thing. Stop looking for money and women and start becoming a man, a gentleman deserving of the money and the woman you want. Work on yourself. And that's what we need to be doing anyway. When I'm stable, I have a good home, I have a solid wife, I'm healthy, I'm happy, kids are good, I'm seeing progress, I'm actually even hungrier. Don't forget that every day that you wake up with the woman next to you, it's you waking up with that woman next to you. Not your mum, not your friends, not your brother, not your sister. You have to wake up with that decision every day, potentially for the rest of your life. Be selfish.
What is going on, people? Welcome back to the CEOCAST, the #1 podcast for showcasing business entrepreneurship. Now, today, every single podcast that you guys love is all about mindset. You guys love getting inspired, and I can't help but bring that to you. So today, I'm with someone who's got one of the best mindsets I've seen online, and probably someone who's very, very inspirational as well. So today, I'm joined here with Elliot Wise. How are you doing, my brother?
I'm very well, thank you.
Lovely to have you on.
Lovely to meet you finally.
Look, as I said in the beginning of this intro, great mindset. So I will kind of want to understand, what's the mindset and approach you took to get to the positions you're in today?
The mindset that I took, ruthless, unrelenting, for tenacity, I think is probably the key to that. I think I have a mindset of you only lose if you quit. Only lose if you quit. And that is true to life. Everybody right now will be going through something. You know, everyone's got a problem. Everyone's got hurdles. The difference between those that succeed and those that don't are simply the ones who don't quit. I've had that since I was literally, I can remember.
Yeah.
Right. And, you know, I've built multiple 7- and 8-figure businesses. I started with a web design company at 13, e-commerce, following on from that, marketing, real estate, marketing, consultancy, mentorship, aesthetics, import. I've done it all. And life very regularly gives you a massive slap. Now, we'll probably go into a few more details, but recently I've been going through a lot of shit in life. Now, businesses and finance is the best I've ever been. The hardships and the hurdles that I've got right now are also the hardest I've ever been. And you often think, am I going to quit? But the difference between those that don't and those that do is the difference between people that have got this success and those that don't. Because ultimately, in today's society, as you would have known with the amount of people you've interviewed, it's not actually that difficult to make money if you don't give up.
Yeah, that's true.
You get there, right? Yeah. And I'm even with people that aren't necessarily gifted with IQ. In fact, there's actually past a certain IQ point, there is zero correlation between IQ and wealth. So it's actually not that high. You don't have to be a smart mofo to actually become wealthy. What you've got to be is a driven, hard-working person with a great network.
Yeah, I think I've seen it as well. Hormozy says, you know, one of the stats as to why businesses fail is because it's nothing to do with the business. The business will eventually get there. So the person quits there before it gets to that point where it's successful. What
people have to remember is everyone has the motivation for 2 weeks to a month, and then the work starts, right? We then, at that point, have to stay focused on the goal when the initial novelty of that thing dissipates. It's like the gym. You start for 2 weeks, fucking every single day you're in there, then that goes, and all you're left with is the work.
Yeah.
And that's when everyone goes, oh, there's this other shiny object, there's this other business, there's this. So how many times have you seen someone that's trying to do drop shipping, trading, real estate, crypto, all at the same time and wondering why they're getting nowhere? It's because they start for 2 weeks, they learn it, and then suddenly realize that there's actual work to do. I'll focus on that now, right?
A new shiny object is right there. Let's go for it.
Yeah. So I think for me, it was the ability to just not quit, because what's the alternative? I don't want a crap life. I've got something to prove to myself and to others. And ultimately, I'm going to be a damn sight more painful for me to be sitting there on my sofa knowing that I've completely wasted my potential. But that being said, we do have massive slaps in life. You can get absolutely knocked the fuck out, right? Things come by. I've had 2 events recently that have really taken the wind out of me. But you have to stand back up and move again. And that's ultimately, I think, in essence, what has got me to where I am. I'm just ruthless.
I think it's a winner's mindset.
Ruthless.
It's needed.
Yeah.
It's funny because, I play sports with my friends all the time. And some of them, I'll admit, are a lot better than me. Mm-hmm. And they can beat me and beat me and beat me. But I swear there's one thing that they know and I know is that I will never give up. I'll tire them out and then win. But eventually I'll get there. I think that's just a great mindset to have. But tell me, what is the alternative for you? What was it, quitting? What was your life that you were trying to change?
What was it, quitting? To be honest with you, I was blessed in that I came from a family of great love, attention and care. I didn't come from money, but I was given the gift of having parents that encouraged me to follow my path and take advantage of the opportunities that I had. I was born in the southeast of England. I was given food, shelter, and the ability and belief from my parents that I had the ability to do anything.
Where did you grow up?
In Brighton, just outside of Brighton.
Okay. Yes.
And because of that, I felt obligated to take advantage of that because my parents gave me everything they could. And also I think that the fact that I wasn't flourished with wealth gave me a hunger. And it wasn't coming from a place of lacking. We never struggled for food. I'm not one of these stories where we didn't, I lived in a council house, but there was always food in the fridge. There was always dinner on the table. I always had clothes for school. Yeah, I wasn't flushed up in designer stuff, but I was happy. I was healthy. I was a kid. I just had something to prove. And I'm not one of these kind of crazy success stories that's rags to riches. It didn't come from money, no, but I came from a loving, caring family and I was a very happy kid. And for me, that is also a place that you can want to build from. Having a stable foundation. And I talk about this all the time now. People seem to think that it always needs to come from a place of pain. I truly believe through my 20s while I was grafting that the hunger and tenacity that comes from being in the trenches and sacrificing everything and being in pain was the thing that can accelerate you forward. While that does work, I actually have found when I'm stable, I have a good home life. I have a solid wife. I'm healthy. I'm happy. The kids are good. I'm seeing progress. I'm actually even hungrier. I feel more stable. I feel like I want to get up every single day. I don't feel like I'm being dragged through the mud. Running away from that is one thing, but the ability to actually love and be grateful for what you've got actually has been a bigger driver and a motivator for me.
Is that because you want to be able to maintain that going forward?
I certainly wouldn't want to lose it. Don't get me wrong. We rocked up here in a Rolls Royce Phantom being driven. I have the finer things in life. That is one element of it. I have a nice life. I have nice things. Great. But it's more, you've been put on this planet, you get one shot. One shot. And for me, it's about seeing how far I can go and how much impact I can have, because the progress isn't necessarily the financials. It's the quantifiable side of financials that I like because it shows growth. But ultimately, I'm a hunter. I need to wake up every single day with a purpose. And I know a lot of people that are super wealthy that have retired and give up and then they become depressed. So for me, it's not necessarily fearing loss. It's fearing lack of progress. I want to always be moving forward because I'd rather be dead otherwise. I need to see something. I need to have a vision. I need to be proud of myself and what I'm doing and what I'm building. You've got to build your empire. Yeah,
of course. As it stands right now, look, you're going in on socials, right? You're getting a lot of views and people picking up of who you are. So Elliot, what is your mission statement that what's the message you want to put out to your audience who are watching? For the people who are watching this right now, why is it that they should be listening to you?
There's a lot of really crappy role models out there right now, in my opinion. There is a lot of young men specifically and women who are lost. We live in a world where there is so much information and so many role models that have different opinions on things. And from what I'm gathering, people just really don't know how to act anymore. We now have people that have traditional values and try and apply that into a modern world. We have modern people trying to apply that to people that are traditional. And you've got all these younger guys, women, and even older that are going, how the fuck do I have a traditional relationship nowadays? How do I integrate the fact that women now have careers and I also have an expectation or desire to have a wife that stays at home? Or, you know, I want to build my life and my empire and I need my partner or whatever to understand that. And also I've got all of these negative influences on me and I'm not necessarily feeling, how do I navigate with this? I'm going to say there's a different way. You know, I have been, I've been down the red pill route. I've sacrificed health, relationships, everything for the pursuit of more money. I've been that guy. I only validated myself on the metric of month to month earning more money. And if I hadn't earned any more money, it would be, I've had a bad month. That's how I used to be. Yeah. And I suddenly realized I was chasing a forever moving goalpost. And then I was in that position of believing that I had to be in a state of hunger, lacking, sacrifice, and in pain to have the motivation and drive. I was actually scared of getting to a comfortable place because I've always been told the enemy of a great life is a good life, right? And that would ruin my motivation. Then all of a sudden I had kids. I have the most amazing, beautiful wife on the planet. And I started to build a solid foundation of what I class as the 5 pillars. And I suddenly realized all this pursuit of wealth was damaging the thing that I tried to create wealth for in the first place, which was my mindset, was my freedom, was my health, was my relationships. I was burning all of that for more money. And then I took the approach of, well, actually, you can have the Lamborghinis, you can have the mansions, you can have the nice lifestyle, you can have an amazing wife, health, fitness, everything, and use the money as a catalyst to fuel that. And my mission now is getting people to understand how to be really a modern day gentleman and lady in a world where there is so much confusion, and take traditional values, but also understand that we now live in a modern world and help people understand and navigate that from someone that's been there and done it, and hopefully be a good role model, because hopefully people will see that I've achieved those things in spite of what we're being told, that it's like proper red pill, like fucking screw everyone else, do whatever you need to, tread on whoever you need to get to where you want to be. Don't need to worry about your partner, in my opinion, the most important person on the planet you're with. Don't need to treat you with respect. They should be compliant, yada, yada. I don't believe in any of that crap. And what's happened up until now is there's not really been a good alternative of someone's actually achieved success, because it's all well and good someone sitting there saying don't do all these things but hasn't achieved anything financial. Because yeah, I'm a big believer in earning more money. You know, I love materialistic stuff, but I also understand how valuable those other pillars are in your life.
Yeah, come home to a family at night and everything like that.
Oh man.
And do you know what? This is why this podcast is going to resonate with not just me a lot, but also I think a lot of other people who are watching this podcast right now, because I think over the past 2 years, we've gone through a period of red pill, as you say. You know, there's been different people who yes, they have money, admittedly, but then they're always pushing the message of, you know, this is how you can go and sleep around with this many different girls, or how you can get this many girlfriends, or, you know, how you can just be an absolute savage at XYZ, with none of it really aligns. But, you know, for the simple guy who, my life, what I want in the future is, yes, I want money. Yes, I want to feel good. I want to look good, but I also want to come home to a wife. I also want a family. That's my ideal life. I want to go live in a peaceful place, but I still want to grind. Do you know what I mean? That's my sort of ideal role model. And sitting with you here right now, I'm very glad that there is someone for it, as yourself, who can push that message and be a role model to those people like myself and the person watching this podcast right now who needs that person and that guidance. But if we had to go over it right now, so let's actually talk about your life story, how you actually come into money. A lot of people are going to be wondering right now what you actually do for a living. So tell me, what was your first taste of money?
First taste of money? Well, if I go right back to the beginning, I created a web design company at 13 because I was like, well, getting a paper round, I'm not doing that rubbish. Yeah. I saw what I didn't want to do, and I saw people trading time for money, and I never wanted to do that. I got my first web design client at 13.
How old? So what year was that?
Oh Christ, I don't even remember what year that was. I'm 33 now, so minus 20 years.
Yeah, about 2004. Okay, yeah. So this was basically just as the internet was popping up. Yeah,
I was blessed. You were blessed. Anyone that's in and around our age, we were born through like the birth pretty much of the computer as it is today. the internet, social media, the smartphone, more recently artificial intelligence. And I say to people, motherfucker, if you can't make money having been born right now with the opportunities that you've got, then you are destined to fail. Because your grandkids are going to sit there and go, Granddad, Grandma, you literally had it all at your fingertips because no one was utilizing it at that point. Now we're teaching this shit in schools.
Yeah.
Now everybody's doing it and it's on the curriculum. It's almost impossible to make it further ahead. Artificial intelligence has now commoditized everybody and we no longer have that arbitrage. Yeah, you sat there with your thumb up your ass, not doing anything about it. So I literally, and as you talked about earlier, why am I so driven? Because I know I've been born in probably the most opportunistic point of all time ever. Literally of all time ever.
Do you know what's funny about it as well? Because we get people in our generation right now who their first thing that they say is, the older generations are lucky because they had property cheaper. So they're using their property as an example of, you could buy a property for £10,000. We're never going to get that opportunity now.
Speak to the same people that you said are lucky and go and ask them who was lucky when they were younger. Because they'll say some other that was older than them was lucky. There's always someone else that's luckier because you're a damn victim.
Yeah.
Look for the opportunities in the now, because what's the alternative? You can literally sit there talking about the reasons you don't have versus finding the opportunities that you do have. It's just shifting the mindset and having the belief system. I believe I am lucky. I believe I was born in the best time ever. Is that factual? It's impossible to say. Does the belief serve me? Yes. Mm-hmm. So why not believe that? I only have belief systems that serve me. Okay? A belief system is not fact. Therefore, you can control the belief systems that you have about yourself and other things and the world as it is. So if I have the ability to engineer that, I'm only going to do things that serve me. So you have to introspectively think every time you say something about yourself or your situation, is that factual? Is it serving me? If it's not, then change it, which is so powerful.
Yeah.
Unbelievably
Definitely,
powerful.
Yeah. I mean, thinking about it now. So yeah, it is powerful. But yeah, so web design company, what did that actually entail?
That was literally me building websites off of initially it was Microsoft Front Page into Dreamweaver. I learned CSS, HTML, then JavaScript. But then I realized that wasn't where it was. I did a few websites, I think I was charging £350 a website or something like that, which wasn't bad for a 13-year-old.
Yeah, that's good.
It did take me probably 3 or 4 months to make them and they were pretty.
Oh, really? Okay. So over the course
funky.
of 3-4 months, it will be £350.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. It was slow. Like I was learning. I bought like HTML for dummies, CSS for dummies, JavaScript for dummies. That was from PC World back in the day.
Yep.
Going to buy my book off the shelf. Because I wasn't even really using it. Ironically, wasn't really using the internet back then because there wasn't that many resources online. I was really at the front end of this. That then transitioned into e-commerce. That was game changer. Mm-hmm. I hit the lighting industry through a sales rep for lighting products, so like Philips bulbs and things like that.
Yep.
He approached me through a family friend and said, "Can you build an e-commerce store? Can you sell online?" I was like, I can figure it out.
Oh, what? Because he had seen your designs on the website.
Yeah, so he saw he was quite forward-thinking and said, well, I need to find something I can sell online. I have the best prices in the world for this particular lighting. Boring as hell, but the good thing about necessity products is they always sell.
Yep.
The competition's low. I get the best prices in the country on these products. Can you sell them? Don't see why not. I use a software called Zencart, which is an open source software. It's crap now, but back in the day, that was one of the free ones. I learned how to code that. I hired 2 guys in my class to do graphic design and coding. I then orchestrated the website, the catalog, liaising, building the network out, and put this thing together through my school summer holidays between GCSEs and college.
Okay, yeah. So you would have been about 16 years old?
Yep. So yeah, I started at 16. I think I launched when I was 17. And there was 0 sales. And I was like, holy shit. I got so excited. Hit the live button. Nothing came in. I'm going to have to learn how to sell. Right? Back to PC World. Google AdWords for dummies.
Yep.
Right? I had a girlfriend at the time and I took her to Egypt for the holiday. I said, look, I'm going to take us on holiday. You can sit by the pool, but I need to read. She's like, what are you talking about? I was like, I bought this book. I need to understand how to market. So I just read Google AdWords for dummies while I was sat in Egypt and basically made loads of loads. Came back. I was one of the first people using Google AdWords. Clicks were cheap. Sales just went
through
bang.
the roof. Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I was buying from manufacturers in the UK. I was then, at 17 rocking up and getting credit agreements for £250,000. So they would front me for 60 or 90 days on all the stock. So then I was cash flow rich. I'm pumping out sales and then having to pay 60 to 90 days. Cut a long story short, that evolved. I made my became a millionaire at the age of 19. I had 911 turbo, 4-bedroom detached house in the southeast.
Yeah. All at 19?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So then I bought myself a Bentley and then, it fucking blew.
So did you go to college then?
Yep. So I went to college. I did economics, math, computing, business. I think that was it. Then I did economics at Southampton University.
So were you rocking up to college in a 911 turbo?
I was. It wasn't college. At the time in college, I had shame to say, I had a brand new Audi TT.
Oh gosh, you had a hairdresser car.
I had a hairdresser car. Nice cars though, right? And then I got the 911 turbo at the end of uni.
Okay, yeah.
So, yeah, I was rocking around uni in a 911 Turbo S.
996, I'm assuming.
It was a 996. It was. Oh man, beautiful
So you
car.
had the proper bad boy spec.
Oh yeah. It was black with the cream or cognac interior, whatever you call it. It was beautiful.
Literally,
I wish I kept that because they're now worth a fortune.
Yeah. Literally because of the film. Exactly that.
And then that went ballistic. That went really well. And then I was like, well, sod this. I'm spending all this money. We're doing, mid 7 figures on turnover. I was working on about 66% margin. It was good, really good. And I wasn't having to do a lot of the time. You just adjust a few AdWords and, SEO and just make sure the site was good. I had 2 warehouses in northeast London, probably not far from here actually. And then I decided, well, look, sod this. All these guys are buying from China. I was about 24 at the time. I booked a one-way ticket to Shenzhen. Mm-hmm. Just flew out. I was like, right, I want to go and meet all the factory owners in Shenzhen on my own.
Up until that point, you were buying all your product and all your stock from UK manufacturers.
I was buying from UK manufacturers, stocking it in-house. Yeah. And then what I was finding was I'd get a price increase every other week.
Yeah.
They would tell me things were in stock and they weren't. Then I'd let customers down. Their prices were way too high. So I sort of sod it. I'm going to try the next best thing. And this is the thing in life as well. What I've always found, whenever I've got stung from business owners, for example, that promised me stock that they didn't have and I let customers down, or the fact that they try and sting you with the price that you were happy with, I see it as an opportunity to force me to go and improve. Every single time I've had a slap, i.e., costings, being let down, being scammed, has always been the catalyst for me to then go and improve the business. Because other than that, I was just kind of happy as it was until they pissed me off enough to go and remove them. Okay, so then I improved. Yeah. So one-way ticket out to Shenzhen. Got there, got an apartment, which is almost impossible because without citizenship there, you can't get a long-term apartment. So I was living in hotels to start with, managed to bribe someone to give me a short-term lease on an apartment. And then I realized that no one there spoke English. Nobody.
No one at all.
So then I locked myself in the apartment, downloaded a language translation software, and then I started teaching myself some Mandarin so I could at least get cabs and get to factories. Yeah. Which was crazy. And then I managed to find an English translator, a guy called Spike in China. And I started hitting factories both in Hong Kong and Shenzhen. I managed to put my first £100,000 order in for lighting within the first 4 weeks of being there. And then the rest was history. I was out there for about 4.5 months in the end. Okay. First time.
So if you had to give me an example on it, just off the top of your head, right? So £100,000 worth of order from a UK manufacturer. Mm-hmm. What would your margins have been on that?
So at that point, the margins went through the roof. I think we started whopping about 120% margin at the time for that particular product. Yeah. So it would have been over 100k profit on that. That's a small order. That was a test order.
And that's from China or from UK?
That was China to the UK. So while I was in China, the stuff arrived at my factory. Okay, in the UK. It was awesome. All the girls were unpacking the lorries. They were there with all these lighting around them. And I was like, this is great. Yeah. And then I started putting more orders in. They were happy with the products. I wanted to put the test in. And then the great thing was because I built a base in China, what we do is anytime and I still do this to some degree, not as much anymore, but for some of my e-commerce clients as well, I get my team to go over to the Shenzhen factories or wherever they are, they get the bullet train up, and they will check the stock before it gets shipped. Because how it works in China typically is you put 30% deposit down before manufacture commences. Yep. And then before they ship the products, you then drop them the other 70%. Now, what they do is they'll say, oh, we'll spot check it for you, right? But what they'll do is they'll take the top products off the top of the boxes. Just
take a sample or something. Yeah.
And they're always on the top. Yeah. If you then get to the bottom of the boxes, quite often you'll find they've given you the wrong products, they're broken, absolutely screwed.
Something wrong with it, yeah.
So they don't, The problem I found with China was they didn't really give a shit about longevity of business relationships. So they would screw you on one order without thinking about the consequences of the fact you're not going to order from them again.
Yeah.
But when it's £500,000 order and they've done you for 250 grand's worth, or the whole thing's wrong, it ain't fun. So we used to send our guys in and we'd pull everything apart, go to the bottom of the boxes, go right, and then we'd find mistakes, be like, back to the factory and get that sorted.
Yeah.
Till the point they just stopped doing
Before you pay the rest of
Before you
70%.
pay the 70%.
Yeah.
That's like an insurance policy. I actually then ended up paying someone just a small percentage of the order value to go and do that, just to cover my ass. It's like an insurance policy.
Yeah, you're saving money at the end of the day, you know, just in case everything goes wrong.
Yeah. I mean, it's an incredible experience. Absolutely incredible experience. And yeah, it was hard. I mean, it wasn't fun, but it put me in a position where I was then elevated massively.
So at this time in the world, you've got this whole operation going on in China and UK simultaneously. How old were you?
25 at the time. 24, 25.
Still very, very young then.
Well,
in terms of entrepreneurship game, that's young.
Yeah. So, but I was still running the web design company as well. So I still kept that
You're
going.
still running that too.
Yeah. And I started up a marketing consultancy as well. I was doing marketing because I kind of mastered at the time was like Facebook advertising, Google AdWords. So the skills that I was learning, I was like, well, I can also sell those as well. I have a team that are doing it for me, so I can then subcontract that to others. I also then started importing for other people as well. Because there were people come up to me with doctors that wanted crazy prosthetics and, you know, anyone that needed anything. Because Alibaba wasn't really a thing then, and it's still pretty crap to this day.
Yeah.
To be honest, you can use it, but if you have the personal connections to China, it's completely different. If also someone that speaks Mandarin or a Chinese person that's negotiating, you won't get the English prices.
Look, and you get local prices.
You get local prices, and then you can also play factories off against one another.
Yeah,
so I was able to arbitrage that really well by having people on the ground. Because as soon as you open your mouth and you speak English, it's like, we'll add 30% on. Thank you very much.
Easily, yeah. But I know in some other countries, you know, like for example, a lot of people get their clothing made in Pakistan. Yeah. That's my home country, right? A lot of people that if they go in there and speak in English, they're getting 100% increase on the actual price. At least 100%. Whereas if we go there, speak normal home language, the price is cheap as chips. Like no one else is going to get that price sort of thing.
So yeah, I mean, you're actually cheaper. It's actually cheaper to hire someone that's a local to negotiate for you because it's going to be cheaper to pay them than it will be for the price they're going to whack onto you. The premium you're going to pay. Yeah. Which is crazy. So that was incredible for me. That was a really incredible period.
What would you say is the biggest thing you learned from that period?
Getting scammed at the end of it.
What do you mean?
The business partner screwed me. Run the business to the ground, stole from me. He went through a bad divorce. Yeah. And I didn't realize was bleeding money. I take full accountability for this, by the way. I was young, naive, and allowed him to control the finances without me checking. Okay, so just a quick one, just to give me more perspective on it. Business partner, who was he? How did you meet him? This was the same business partner from the very beginning. So a school friend or something? No. So he was older, about 10 years older than me. Okay, yeah. He was, like I said, came through a contact of a family friend. Oh, okay, this is that guy. Same guy. Yeah, okay. We'd been building the lighting company the whole way through. Okay. I was handling marketing. He was handling fulfillment and the finances. Yeah. He had good relationships. And what I suddenly realized was when they're handling the stock, when I dug deeper, what was happening was, because we had credit terms and things like that, and we were growing, they were invoicing more to the company, skimming some off, and then all of a sudden there's a hole being eaten at the bottom to pay off. You know, I don't think he wanted to fuck us over. Yeah. But he was so desperate and didn't have the conversation with me that it was stealing, thinking I'll probably put it back in the future. That never happens. Got himself into such a hole, then all of a sudden orders weren't being fulfilled. Money was missing. And then things start stacking up where you can't actually fulfill orders, you start getting negative reviews, your payment provider starts shutting you down, and it's a real vicious cycle. Very quickly it goes like that. Mm-hmm. And we ended up having to close that down. I had to pay off all the suppliers debt-free just to get us out of my own money, which almost nearly bankrupted me. Because I just paid everybody off because I didn't want any bad blood. Because I thought if I'm going to carry on in this industry, I can't be seen to be someone that's let people down. I always pay. For sure. By hook or by crook. Yeah. My reputation and my integrity is worth more than anything. So I paid everybody off and the business shut down consequently. But it was the best lesson of my life. Because I take full accountability for the fact that I wasn't checking. I didn't have proper contracts in place. That's my fault. I think, that's interesting because a lot of people in that position would instantly look to blame other things around them or other people. And I think you taking responsibility as that just gives you a sense of manlyhood, I suppose. And don't get me wrong. Like, in the initial period, the day you have it, you have a visceral response of, I'm going to kill that guy.
Yeah.
And then you suddenly realize, actually, everything up until this point, you deserve, Elliot. You deserve exactly where you are in life because of the actions you took to be here. You're a consequence of everything you have decided to do with your life and the decisions you've made. It's your fault. Your fault. Stop blaming other people. And in this situation, I take full accountability because that gives me control. If I have control, it means I can change it. And I love that. The worst thing in the world is not having control over something. That's scary. So when I have full control, when I take accountability of everything, then I know the future is in my hands. I am exactly deserving of the things that I have right now, for good and for bad. I'm deserving of the good, I'm deserving of the bad.
So you lost your business. What about your own personal finances and your own personal life?
So I had my house. I sold my cars.
Yep.
I moved out of my house, moved back in with my mum, rented out every single room to cover the bills and pay the mortgage because I paid every other penny off. I even took loans out to pay other people off. And then set to work on building up my marketing agency.
Okay, so the marketing agency you had started whilst also...
It was smaller, and it was maybe accounting for maybe 5% of my income at the time. I blew that up. Within 6 months, I was earning twice what I was from the e-commerce business, scaled that up massively. I was doing marketing for Harrods, gym manufacturing companies, e-commerce businesses, just went ballistic, started doing social media marketing as well at the time. And I turned that into an absolute mammoth very quickly. The thing is, what's amazing about being absolutely wiped out is it's a blessing, because when you make money for the first time ever, you always have that nagging question in the back of your head of, was it luck? Did I hit on something that was just fluke? Or is it the skills that I've actually deployed to get to that point? And I think it's a bit of both. But once you've been wiped out for the first time and you build it back up, you are filled with confidence that it wasn't just a fluke.
Yeah, no,
and therefore you play less defensively, which enables you to scale way faster. Because when we think it's fluke, we're more coveting. We play defensively. Where in business, we do need to take risk. Yes, it has to be controlled risk, but when you're worried about whether or not this thing was, whoa, can I do this again? That's a problem. When you remove that fear and you realize you're not made of glass, you realize that no matter what, you can make it back. Game on. It's fun now. Because I no longer have that fear. Put me back to rock bottom, I'll come back up again.
This is where life really starts.
Life really starts to get fun then. Every single highly successful person I've met has had that at least once, if not 10 times. And I'm guessing you probably spoke to countless people. It's almost like a rite of passage to become hyper successful.
Yeah.
Because the lessons itself that you learn as well are the thing that will then fortify that business going forward.
Exactly.
Because without those things, I wouldn't have put
you won't make those mistakes again.
You're building on a much more solid foundation.
Yeah.
Which is the necessary requirement for the business itself and your mindset to be able to go on scale and become an absolute titan.
See, I think this is what people should learn from the beginning, even if they haven't started their first business. Just understand that failure is not a bad thing, because the things you're going to learn from that are going to excel you way further in the future.
This is the problem with the school system. It's drilled into us from literally a kid that failure is bad. We are told that if we don't pass an exam, you have failed. Then you get a slap for that. Rather than saying, well, at least you tried. Here's the lessons that you need to learn to then come back and apply it again. And we will praise you pushing boundaries and failing. Failure for me is only failure if you quit. As I said at the very beginning, you only fail if you quit. And the caveat on top of that too is you'll continue to fail with the goals you're trying to hit if you don't learn from the mistakes that you made. Every single thing is an opportunity for growth. It's not a failure. Every time I do something that didn't yield the results that I want, I see that as an opportunity to learn and improve. And if I don't know the answer, find someone that does. I don't necessarily always want to be right, because in an argument, the person that right didn't actually learn anything. The person that wrong gained something from that argument.
For sure.
That person improved, you didn't. All you get is an ego boost.
Yeah.
And that's the same in life.
Just to go back to one point you mentioned there, right? So having a business partner
Yeah.
who essentially, I suppose, scammed you, right? I think this is a great thing to talk about as well, because how do you think the situation would have played out if he had come to you and said, Elliot, look, this is what I'm going through in my personal life. It may affect the business. How can we go through this together moving forward to make sure that business still survives and my situations are overcome as well?
The only problem I can't solve is one that I don't know about.
Okay,
Right?
yeah.
So if you're going into business with anyone, communication is everything. And two things you need to be putting into a business is, one, the expectation that no matter what, good and bad, problems come to the table. Okay? That is an absolute requirement. The other is you don't go into business with someone that's desperate for money. Ever. Cardinal rule. The worst business mistake you can possibly make is going into business with someone that's desperate for money.
Why is that?
Money is the lifeline for a business. And when someone's priority is the cash, not the business itself, it always fails. Okay? The business needs to become deserving of the cash that it's going to receive. You can't go after the cash and then try to build the business from it. Okay? It's the same in life. Men will not attract the women that they want by chasing the women. They have to improve themselves to allow the women to come to them. We become deserving of the things we attract. If we chase those things without working on ourselves and the foundations of us, it's a complete waste of time.
Yeah.
And you're going to be forever running after that thing. And if you're in business with someone like that, they're chasing the wrong thing. The focus is on the money, not the business. That's everything. The people that focus on the business, that can do the reps over and over again without seeing the results, will build something that will yield a tremendous amount of income. You try and chase the income, you don't build the thing.
Look, I definitely want to go into relationships and everything like that further in this podcast, right? Because I think that's a interesting topic. And I suppose there's almost like three aspects to this podcast. You got, gentlemaness, you got relationships, and then you got the money. So just to finish off, I suppose, the money sector, what is it exactly that you do now that's making your company, that's making you millions? Is it still the marketing company, or is it et cetera, or is it what else?
So my marketing agency is now evolved.
Yep.
We are very big on artificial intelligence. So we build marketing systems and CRMs for aesthetic clinics, accountancy firms, financial firms. We have specific industry to do that with. We have integrated the newest artificial intelligence bots, systems, lead gen, client fulfillment into a very bespoke service.
Big on AI.
Huge, love it. Yep. Absolutely love it. Love it to death. And we rolled that out into Dubai, USA, and the UK.
Yep.
That's huge. That's blowing up. We have a sales team that's all running itself, a huge team. I then still have my e-commerce businesses. I have a manufacturing company that actually we manufacture switches and sockets, lighting, which we then sell to the market. That's a great industry. Had that for a decent time. I then have clothing and jewelry in e-commerce. They do great. Like e-commerce is still one of the best ways to make money today. It's insane, right? It's only scaling, getting bigger. You have the Amazons and then you have the independent standalone stores. And there's still a tremendous amount to be made on those because you're never going to be able to niche down, or Amazon people will never be able to niche down the same way you can with a product store that you've built that you can become an expert and authority in. Then I have my mentorship, my platform, The Wise Gentleman, where I educate people on all the things I talked about. The fact that there is actually a better way of playing the game. I have decided to come out of the entrepreneurial shadows and spread the message that you can be unbelievably wealthy, have a great physique, great mindset, great health, relationships, all together. You don't have to sacrifice those things. And I'm building a community of what I class as gentlemen to do that. There's a different caliber. I hate this term high caliber man, high value man.
Yeah.
Right. We used to call that a gentleman. Someone that actually has honor, integrity and respect.
It's a gentleman.
That feeds others before they feed themselves, that opens the doors for other people, that is promotive of other people's successes and is happy for them and supports them. That's what I want to bring back. I want to bring that back. I want to bring that in masses because there's so many people that believe it, but have been so misled by some of the role models out there, thinking that because they have the things they want materialistically, this is the only way of doing it. And there seems to be, from what I'm seeing, people that are just so lost because they know deep down that there's something not quite right with it. There's something that's not sitting with them quite right. But this must be the way, right? Because this is
successful, etc.
Are now pushing it and no one's spreading it.
Yeah.
So The Wise Gentleman is a platform I'm literally trying to scale out to the masses. And it's growing at a ridiculous rate, especially through Eastern Europe.
As we're on the topic of it, tell me what actually makes someone a gentleman, besides, opening the doors for other people, but what is the main fundamental factors that make someone a gentleman?
One, and the biggest one, is that you don't put yourself first. The whole point of being a gentleman is the ability to do something for someone other than yourself, selflessly, which in turn will actually, people don't realize this, they just will end up building you way more than you could possibly ever realize.
Yeah.
It's trying to be a man that turns into a gentleman that impacts the world in a positive way. And this is where religion comes in. It's like, treat others how you want to be treated.
Of course, yeah.
Do things, but it's not something that's never been spoken about before and I'm coming with some new message. It's a universal truth. Now, I'm not religious. And I believe that's really important because I believe my message is extremely important. And I don't even class it as my message. Like I said, it's a universal truth. And I don't want to isolate my message or the message that I'm pushing from whoever to a particular group of people because they believe in a specific religion.
Yeah.
Because this is important that we all adopt this.
It fits everyone.
It fits
regardless of
everybody.
racial, race, colour, all that sort of stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right? And that comes with a tremendous amount, we all have a tremendous amount of responsibility to use the time we've been gifted to make this place a better place. And ultimately, we seem to have got away from that. And I don't believe we're past the point of no return. I know that the UK is definitely a failing society and we're definitely seeing things that we don't like. I mean, I've asked my mum the other day, I said, Mum, do you think the UK is now a better place today than it was when you were growing up? Even with all the technological increase, she said, no, I don't feel any better about it. In fact, I feel worse. That's a problem. But we're not failed just yet. But if everyone keeps running away from this problem, because everyone's like, oh, I'm going to go to Dubai, I'm going to go to the Eastern Europe. Yes, I go to those places, but I'm still here because I do believe that if we silence ourselves and we move ourselves away from the problem, it's only going to exacerbate this issue where we have an obligation as men, as gentlemen, to put others, this message, before ourselves. And another big thing as well that seems to be lacking with most people nowadays is emotional control and regulation.
What do you mean by that?
I would say one of the most fundamental traits of a gentleman is one that you can control your emotions no matter what happens. You don't have visceral responses. You don't blame everybody else. You act with integrity and honor at all times, no matter what.
Yep.
Especially with your wife or girlfriend. Doesn't matter how much she pisses you off. Doesn't matter what she does to annoy you. Like, you maintain completely emotionally control. You become a good role model for her and your kids eventually if you've got them or haven't got them. Like, that's... Be a good citizen. And that's what it means to me to be a gentleman. I'm
going to play devil's advocate on something you said there, right?
Please.
Where you said, the UK it can be recovered. I believe you, it can be recovered, but I think things and apps like TikTok don't help because I see men who are my age, yeah, and they act like full-on complete clowns, the far opposite from what gentleman is. And I want to say a lot of the public are like that. And I'm not saying they can't be gentlemen, but I'm saying I don't think you could be both. You can't be the clown on TikTok at night and gentleman by day sort of thing. I feel like apps like TikTok or people who are trying to, flex too hard on Instagram, that's not gentleman character. And those people, I don't know if they can come back from. What would you say to that?
I would disagree and say that they don't have a good role model to see an alternative that would expose how ridiculous those things are. It's the same way as if I said to you, you go to the gym and you see someone that's in ridiculous 10 out of 10 shape. They're shredded to the bone. You're going to go over to them and say, mate, what are you eating and what are you training? Because I want to get on it. Just tell me what it is. I'll take it. Right?
Or what secret supplements I'll take.
And as I previously mentioned, the problem we've got at the moment is there is very few role models that seem to have cracked a better way of living that would influence these people that are watching this clown behavior. And a lot of these people watching the clown behavior are just miserable. Yeah. They're looking for something to escape their monotonous life from. Whereas if they were to see more of us living an amazing life in a way that actually seems to fit and resonate with them, you would find them actually being more attracted to that than the shit that they're consuming on TikTok.
Of course, yeah.
So what we need to do is the guys that are living that way, push it harder. It's on us. We're accountable for that. They're not seeing the good side and what they can achieve. So let's change the fucking balance in our favor. Let's push that out. Let's actually start to and a few people have done that recently. They've taken over those social media platforms and then created a movement. Now, I don't need to name names, right? Yeah. There's a few people that have done a really good job of that. I'm going to do the same. But if we all silence and we try and run away from it, we're definitely lost.
Yeah, no, I agree. So then going back to, I know what your message is, But the question is, why? Why does it matter to you to change these people's lives in terms of becoming a gentleman? You know, that same clown on TikTok, why is it important for you to be a role model to him? What difference does it make on your life?
I made a lot of money. I live a very nice life. And my wife is a doctor. She came home once, and it was a real light bulb moment for me, because I sat down and I had absolutely nailed a year revenue increase on a manufacturing company I was working for. I think I had like 15% on. I had multi-millions on. I sat there real smug. And she came home and was like, I don't really want to talk about it today, Elliot. I've had a really hard day. I said, what happened? She was like, well, 2 people nearly died. Did manage to save them, but like, I'm struggling today. And I sat there and thought, holy shit. She saved 2 people today, and I'm here sitting smug that I've increased some corporate's bottom line by 15%. And yeah, I'm smug right now, but it does not feel the same as the fact that she comes home and just saved 2 people. And all in that moment, I felt lacking, and I felt that I wasn't having the impact that I could be having. Because, you know, what's another million on top of the millions you've got already? It didn't mean anything to me. But seeing her and what she was going through and what she'd achieved, I was so proud, but also so critical of myself in that moment, thinking that I need to do something more with this. And it just so happened that I then started looking to more mentorship and helping others. And I started doing it in the UK in a big way, especially through COVID. I was helping fitness coaches go online and really help out, just changing people's lives. And I started operating on a higher frequency, way higher frequency. And I suddenly started feeling a lot more fulfilled. Yes, I was making great money, but I was also acting in accordance with what felt right to me, seeing other people improve. And that is, nothing beats it. Nothing beats it, especially when you've put your own oxygen mask on first. The next best thing is putting other people's oxygen masks on.
Of course, yeah.
Then I moved to Eastern Europe to do some business. I didn't move there permanently, but I was doing some work out there. I went to Bulgaria and very quickly realized that they're like the UK 30 years ago. Really traditional, really beautiful people, men are men, women are women, traditional family units. They still respect their elders, tremendous amount of respect for their parents, all wanted to get married. The young guys had girlfriends. They really didn't buy into the whole sleep with as many women as you possibly can mentality. And they love my message. And not only did they love my message, they actually started applying it and pushing hard and changing their lives from the lowest GDP country in the whole of Europe. The average wage is 400 euros a month. These guys are hungry. They just want anything that can help them escape that. And they didn't have an expectation that life was just going to plonk itself on a plate for them, right? They appreciated it and ran with it. And it was in that moment that I realized that, okay, this is great. I'm doing so much work out in Bulgaria. I'm getting really well known here. I'm really helping them. But what about my own people? I want to give them a shake. I need to take. So my mission now really is to take the people that are actually utilizing this information. There's some in the UK, but Eastern Europeans are still much more, I would say, forward thinking at this point and are understanding this movement that we need to have. And I'm going to use them as a benchmark for what can actually be achieved. And we'll say, look, this guy has got half, if not a tenth of the opportunities you've got. And he's changed his entire life around while you're sitting here complaining that you have nothing and you sit on a sofa with a victim mentality claiming the dole. I want to get, like I said, I don't want to isolate it to anyone. And I also don't want to be someone that sits here just smashing the UK constantly. I'm sick of it. You know, I'm guilty of doing this too. So like, if you go back and look at some old podcasts, I've sat there and gone, this country is failing. Like, get out of here. It's crap. How on earth can you expect to have people respect their own country and love their own country when everyone is just bashing it? Because I said to you earlier, right, there's always an alternative. You can see the positives or you can see the negatives. You can see the opportunity or you can see the costs. I choose to start seeing the opportunities here. I see a beautiful country steeped in history. We had an empire from a little island that pretty much ruled the world. We have some of the most beautiful countryside. We have some of the best culture and history in the planet. We pretty much invented the gentleman. The English of old.
It's true.
Right?
Yeah, especially when you watch the old school films and stuff like that, yeah.
So let's actually celebrate that and start showing people what we're about to lose and actually start promoting that again.
I completely agree with you, but once again, devil's advocate on that as well. the day and age from then to now, completely different. Just mainly because of the governments and the way they're running things and the things that they're allowing this country. They're allowing the downfall, essentially. You know, what they're doing about the police within the UK when it comes to people getting robbed and all that sort of stuff. Look at tax. That's why people are moving abroad to, you know, whether it be tax-free zones like Monaco or Dubai, for example. And then you've got all the opportunity right now as it stands at the moment. I mean, I've been to Dubai several times, and the opportunity out there is way more extensive than it is over here in the UK. As a self-employed person, I'll add. As for someone who's looking to get employment, I'm not sure. But I'm talking about someone from a business owner's perspective. I personally feel like Dubai's the place. Plus, you got the sun, you got the weather and all that sort of stuff. That's not to say the UK isn't a great country. I think the UK is elite. But I do definitely think that we are coming to the age and time right now where there will be continuously growing opportunities in places outside of the UK. Not just Dubai, but also everywhere else around the world.
Bro, I play the game everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, when it comes to the financial side, you have to be smart. You have to pivot. You have to move. And that's not just today. That's been since history began with business. You got to be optimal with your tax. You have to be efficient with your profits and where the business is. But draining that out of the country and never trying to put it back is a problem. Now, I fully understand that for me to get to where I needed to be financially, I had to play that game. Still have to play that game. But if I'm able to become more fortified financially and amass more power, that means I can have more influence back here.
Yeah.
You know, if you are suppressed by the UK, and I completely agree, the system here and the red tape put in place is designed to keep you where you're at. Don't know if you've seen the film In Time.
No.
With Justin Timberlake, but it's
I have.
It's the best illustrative way that explains basically money zones.
Yeah.
And the fact that, you know, there's different areas in the film where you have to cross borders.
Yep.
And you have to pay through time, which is effectively currency, to get to the next one. Now, because everyone's hand to mouth in the really poor areas, they can never cross the border. So everyone's kept in their space and no one ever breaks out of that space. The system in the UK is set up exactly like that. If you don't understand the rules of the game and you don't understand modern wealth creation techniques, you don't understand the ability to operate and leverage the arbitrage from different countries and the opportunities that are there, you will never break out of this position unless you leave.
Yeah.
However, if you learn the rules and you learn how to play them better, you then utilize that to become a powerful, wealthy, influential person. You can then have way more impact on the country that you love. So it's not necessarily not to use those things, but it's not to forget about the thing that you left behind.
Fairs.
And you build a person that can then actually have more influence, because you can't do anything without money or power. You can't. Like, with great power comes great responsibility. You can use it for good or for bad. You can go and be a Hitler, or you can go and be Martin Luther King. Like, you can choose your path with that power.
Yeah.
Right? And that's up for anybody to decide. But I do believe that it's not just about not using those things. By all means, learn it, thrive off of it, become amazing. But then you can then go and have the impact that you want.
On this journey, you know, I think it's very, very key to find relationships, right? And this is what I want to get into, because I think from my experience, my own personal life, and speaking to other people, whether it be on the podcast or outside of the podcast, right? What a lot of people tend to struggle with is balancing the fine line between tunnel vision on your goal, on your vision for your business and for your own personal growth, and then somehow finding a partner along the way and balancing your relationship. So having the relationship and balance that is one thing, but then also wanting to have that relationship at the moment, because I think it's almost like a natural entrepreneurship thing in my occurrence, is that I'll wait for the relationship for another time. Give me a year or two, give me 3 years, and then I'll put my exit into that relationship and go forward with that. So first and foremost, your missus, how did you meet your missus? What was the whole process of that? Did you go out seeking a relationship, or was it more of a natural on your path sort of thing? And how did you balance it?
So, full transparency, I met my wife on Tinder.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. She was the only woman I ever met off of Tinder, actually. And it was just by happenstance that I got to the point where I've been through a bad string of relationships. You know, I'm not one of these people that have had one relationship and I'm preaching, you know, monogamy, this, that, and the other. No, I've done everything wrong. Like, I've done it all. And I got to a point where I knew that the right partner is the most influential and important decision you can make as a man to support not only you, but your business and every future decision of your life. You get the wrong one, it will completely sabotage the whole thing.
Yeah.
You get the right one, she'll help you build and scale to the fucking moon and beyond.
Yep.
So important. I realize that. So the things that have always worked in my life is when I've approached it commercially like a business. Now, I looked at picking my wife, who is now my wife. She's an Iranian doctor, Hoda. She was a lot of tick boxes, effectively, and that's the way I saw it. I approached it the same way you would employ a COO for your company, because they are ultimately going to be running that thing, okay? And with that, I wanted to make sure that I had done a lot of interviews. I had very strict guidelines about what I thought would conform to be a good partner. Mm-hmm. And I had zero tolerance for anything that wasn't exceptional. Literally. If I didn't walk away from a date that wasn't mind-blowing, I wasn't even interested, because it had to be that good. And I applied the same rationale to my COOs. And I've always had fantastic results from doing that. So I took a commercial approach. Now, with regards to coming to you, let me ask you this question. And I asked you this before. If you were trying to create as much money as humanly possible, what's the first thing that you focus on?
The thing that's giving you the money.
Which is?
Business.
Your skill set, your business.
Yeah, okay. Skill set, business, yeah.
So why is it any different for women? If you want to attract, and I call them a lady, because a lady is different to a woman. Mm-hmm. A lady is high caliber. It is someone that is actually going to support you and be there for you and actually be an empire builder with you.
Of course, yeah.
To attract a lady, what would they be looking for?
Someone who has that skill set to be a man, I suppose.
They'd be looking for a gentleman.
Yeah.
So if you are not working on yourself and trying to chase women, what you will find is girls. The same way, if you focus purely on yourself and you become a man deserving of a woman of that caliber, they will come to you. So I always say this to entrepreneurs: stop looking for money and women and start becoming a man, a gentleman deserving of the money and the woman that you want. You deserve everything you have in your life right now. And if you know that a lady is only going to be attracted to someone of that caliber and magnetized towards them, work on yourself. And that's what we need to be doing anyway. And you don't have to look for them. They will come to you in abundance. I speak to so many men. There's no good women out there. It's because I'm like, you're not a good bloke. Right? Simply, right? I've never had a problem attracting high caliber women because all I did was focus on myself. Then they're there.
So go on, sorry.
No, carry on.
I was going to say, what was actually on your tick boxes then? When you were going into these dates, what was it for you that was like, right, yes, nah, can't do that. Nope, not going to see you again. Yes.
First and foremost, when it comes to, for me, finding a lady, was family values. Number one was, what's your relationship like with your parents? How often do you speak to them? How often do you see them? What's your relationship with your father? What's your relationship with your mother? Do you have any siblings? What's your relationship with them? Because for me, the family unit is the main reason for the decline in the human race right now. Mm-hmm. The fact that we have eroded through systems and social media, this promotion of a strong family unit is a catastrophe. And if it does continue, will be the end of the human race as we know it.
That I agree with. No devil's advocate. That's just straight agreement, yeah.
Okay. So for me, if I'm going to find someone who is going to potentially be the mother of my children, she will have a very similar relationship to my children. I know that she does to her parents. Mm. That's not always the case, because some people come from really torn families and they do become brilliant parents. But if you are someone that can attract anybody, make your life easier. Okay? So, and this is why I don't have a problem with women that look for men with money. Because if they are a lady and they have worked on themselves and they are a brilliant person, why, if they have 20 people in front of them, do they not have a gentleman that has the money, has the relationships, has great family, has all the tick boxes? The same way we as men never really get criticized for picking a woman that's good looking, because you have the ability to attract good looking women, and you've got equally two tick boxes, but one's not as attractive as the other one. Why wouldn't you pick the attractive one? That's not misogynistic to say. It's not unreasonable to say. It's just factual. So become a man deserving of an abundance of ladies that you would basically specify as good tick boxes.
I think this is where a lot of men go wrong, because speaking to friends of mine and stuff, they'll have two types of women that come to them. Yeah, one, the beautiful, attractive lady, 10 out of 10 looks, doesn't tick all the boxes. One's, let's just say 7 out of 10 looks, ticks all the boxes, but they'll go for the 10 out of 10 based on the looks though. And then the relationship then starts to eventually, I wouldn't say deteriorate, but goes downhill. Whereas if they had someone with the tick boxes, everything, she's 7 out of 10, so still very good looking, but to them, they just go with beauty over everything else on the outside.
I think it's important, and what we tend to do right now is stereotype things a lot. There's a lot of people that are telling you what you should and shouldn't do, whereas I think you need to sit down and introspectively think what you want. Don't forget that every day that you wake up with the woman next to you, it's you waking up with that woman next to you. Not your mum, not your friends, not your brother, not your sister, not your school teacher, whoever it may be. You have to wake up with that decision every day, potentially for the rest of your life. Be selfish. Shut the noise off and really, truly start to introspectively figure out what it is that you want, because that's a really crap life. If you make a long life commitment to a partner that isn't what you truly want, you will end up a very unhappy man.
Yeah.
And that thing's likely to end up in shambles and in tears anyway. So I think, in my personal opinion, people don't think for themselves enough anymore. That's the problem. They don't figure out. Like, we have, in my opinion, depression is like massively on the rise. And a big proponent of that is the fact that we're no longer operating on a fulfillment curve that's in line with us.
Yeah.
So if you're living life and this is where you live and do things based on what truly makes you happy, not what other people makes you happy, then social media gets in the way, parents get in the way, friends get in the way, and you suddenly start to make decisions that are more in line with them. You suddenly start another curve, which is veering off of your natural fulfillment, right? Yep. And then as this gap starts to extrapolate, as you may be pursuing more materialistic things, other pillars that aren't necessarily what you wanted to push, this gap opens up. I call that depression and unhappiness. Right? And then as soon as we start clearing that noise and go, well, actually, what do I need? What do I want? What's going to benefit me as a whole, as a gentleman more? And you start making those decisions more in line with you, you'll become happier, a better person, and then more able to serve others.
Yeah.
Because when you're in a hole and you feel like shit, the last thing you want to do is help other people.
Yeah. So you need to help yourself first.
By figuring out what it is that you want and stop listening so much to the noises online of telling people what to do. Yes, I might be telling people what to do right now, but I'm saying think for yourself.
Yeah.
Don't listen to me. You can look at my life. If that's truly what you want, fucking brilliant. But don't just take it because that person has some sort of authority, or you think they do, and they have recommended that's the way you live.
Yeah,
it's going to end up in tears.
It's the way everyone should live. Have someone as a role model, inspiration, but be true to yourself and live the way you want to live to your own life. Not because Elliot's living like this, or Raheem's living like this, or so-and-so's living like this. Live how you want to live. You could take us as role model inspiration, but be true to yourself. Coming back to the relationship, right? So there's one thing, acquiring the woman or the lady, and having yourself match the lady and gentleman. Perfect. But balancing the relationship is another question. Because whilst you're on the path of entrepreneurship, you're running your businesses, you are a serial entrepreneur as well. It's very hard to balance all businesses at one go, let alone having a relationship that's also a full-time job in itself. So how do you actually, and what is the correct way to go around balancing a relationship with business?
So one of the tick boxes that I had was the woman I end up marrying needs to understand my mission and my purpose. And I need to understand hers too. It's a two-way street.
Yep.
And I remember on my second date with my wife now, I said, look, my business and what I'm trying to build right now is more important than you, simply. She said, well, look, I'm studying for medical exams. I'm going to be a doctor. Just to let you know, if you get in the way of that, that's also more important than me. So you'll be moved out of the way. I said, great, we have an agreement. I needed the person that I was going to marry and be partnered with to understand what I needed from life that made me happy, and for her to buy into that and want to be part of that. And likewise, the same with her. If there's an incompatibility there, you're going to have a problem. So I don't understand why people just can't open their mouth and articulate those expectations at the start. That's simply it. Have a conversation with that person, and maybe, yes, it might change. But if you are seriously incompatible, then go and find someone more compatible than you. Make your life easy. And that's all it was. And it's the same way when couples sit down and they say, how do you navigate this world? I want a traditional relationship. The problem isn't that you want a housewife. It's that you expect a housewife. This is the difference between a traditional gentleman and a modern day gentleman. A modern day gentleman sits down and says, look, I would like to have a traditional relationship. I would like to be with a woman that wants to stay at home, look after the household, care for the kids, and I go and provide. Is that something that is in line with you? She might say, no, I want a career, I want this and the other. Okay, we're probably not the right couple.
Yeah, people for each other, yeah.
The problem occurs when you go, you're gonna do that because that's what's expected. Motherfucker, drop your ego and your arrogance. Why? Because we don't live in that world. Have a conversation. The problem is the gentlemen of old were pushing women into a position and men into a position that isn't necessarily on what they wanted. There's plenty of women that want a traditional relationship. There's plenty of men that don't. Go and find someone, but just have a conversation at the start.
About it.
It's not hard.
But what about situations where, you know, to please that person in particular, let's say you're on a date with a beautiful woman, or the woman thinks, you know, she's on a date with a man who's such a catch, and they say these things just to please the other person, but they don't actually mean it. So then they could say, you know what, yep, I'll give you your space, you give me my space, cool. But then when it comes down to it, who knows if they're just saying that for the sake of it, and then when it comes to actually being together, then things change and they're like, it's just not working. They start complaining about work, or you start complaining about them. Do you know what I mean? There's clashes people could say for
when you get into a relationship, look, what you have to remember, and I try to drill this into everybody, nothing's permanent. Death is, okay? But everything in between is not permanent. They say death and taxes, but that's now arguable with Dubai.
Yeah.
Right? So nothing's permanent. And we are allowed to make poor decisions that give us the opportunity for growth. So we might, and we most likely will, make poor decisions with the women that we try to be with. Mm-hmm. The only time it doesn't work is if, one, you don't take accountability of all the problems that have occurred, i.e. I didn't do my due diligence, I might have treated the situation wrong, and then I didn't end things fast enough. Okay? If that is a realization that this isn't going to work, then it is also okay once you've tried, because we do now live in a massively throwaway society, and that is the biggest problem. Because there is an abundance of women at your fingertips on social media platforms, and also the same for women, for men, even more so. There is this whole notion of, I don't need to try because there's more. Now, what you need to do is say, okay, have I actually articulated what I want from this relationship? Have I actually been the best person I possibly can be? Have I done everything I possibly can whilst also seeking advice from other people to try and solve this problem I've got? Because let's say she's not supportive of your business, she's trying to pull you away, she's acting jealous. Start with you being accountable. Do everything you possibly can, try your absolute best. If then, and only then, it isn't working, politely end things and move on. Don't waste time. But don't throw it away just because at the first hurdle you found some resistance and friction, because that's life. And it's okay to make a poor decision. It's okay. It's not permanent. Yes, I believe in the sanctity of marriage, but I'm not going to ruin my life over that. I've said this to my wife. I will do everything I possibly can to maintain this relationship and make sure we never get divorced. However, if it gets to a point where that's the case and we have both exhausted every option, then that would have to be the case. But I will do everything in my power for that not to be the case. And that's all I can say as a man.
It's like, you know, going back to what we said in the beginning when it comes to relationships and business and stuff like that. Failure it's a make or break scenario, you know, and it can only add to your attributes and your characteristics as a person. Failure is only going to lead you to more success in the future if you play it right. And no different to a relationship, you know, if it fails, then you know exactly what went wrong in the future. And if you do choose to go into another relationship in the future, then you know exactly what you're looking out for.
People are operating from such fear. They're so fearful for making decisions because of the consequences that come with it. But we have to understand that life is full of pain. We do get kicked in the nuts a lot. And that's just a learning experience to avoid the kick next time. move before it smashes you straight in the nuts, right?
Yeah.
And that's the fun part of this game. Like, it's okay. Try, test, figure out what hurts, figure out what works, and move on and grow as a person, but find gratitude in all of it.
I think a lot of people are scared about time with these things that it takes to fail, etc. Because they might be thinking, all right, I'm 25 years old now. Mm-hmm. Have I got time to fail? By the time I fail, I might be 30 years old. Then my life's over. Do you know what I mean? So I think it's all a matter of time.
It's also, no, I think it's a matter of perception, because it's how you define the failure. Would failure not being making the wrong decision and being with the wrong person for the rest of your life, over maybe not making a decision because you didn't necessarily find the perfect person and then adapted your life around it and made the best of the opportunities that you were given? I mean, I know I'd rather make the best of what I could get rather than make the rushed wrong decision. I think we have to think about how we define things very carefully, because the definitions are dangerous.
Yes.
Because they can, like I said, force us into things that aren't really going to do anything for us.
I want to ask you something there regarding relationships and your wife in particular, right? Being a gentleman that you are, I'm just curious to know, what was your first date?
What was my first date?
Yeah, where did you take her? What was the itinerary?
At the time, I was taking, if I took anyone out on a date, I didn't want to show my wealth.
You didn't want to?
No, because I don't come from flashy beginnings. If she's going to be exposed to my family, not all of them are wealthy. They don't like fly on private jets. They don't live in mansions. They live in humble houses.
Yeah,
it's a nice life, but it's humble. Mm-hmm. And I didn't want someone that couldn't also be around that. Now, I have no issues with people that don't want to be around that. I've also come up, some women have been brought into very wealthy lives, and that's all they know. They would struggle with the alternative. Mm-hmm. That's okay. Yeah. No issues with that. I just didn't have that as a tick box. So I bought my mum's Vauxhall Corsa. I left the Bentley at home, and I would take a girl on a date to a pub. So my wife, Hannah Hodder, took her to a pub. We had a Sunday roast, literally spent time talking about work, medical stuff, entrepreneurial stuff. And at the end of it, that was it. Very humble, very basic. And I just judged it purely on the fundamentals of what I was looking for. I asked very specific questions. I had an agenda when I went in. I knew what I wanted to hear. How she was going to respond would dictate whether or not there was going to be a second date.
So now I'm interested to know, what point did you show her your wealth?
It was a second date.
It was a second date. So what did you say to her, and how did that happen? Did you pull up in the Bentley?
Yeah, I pulled up in the Bentley. I had to be honest at that point and said, look, but I did quite an amount of, in between that, we spoke a lot. It wasn't like I hadn't spoken to her between the first day and the second day. There was quite a big gap.
Yeah.
And I got to know her. I got to know more of her family values. And I just knew at that point that based on all of the other women I'd met, this woman was very different. And I was blown away. Yeah. The one I don't necessarily believe in, but it was one that I could definitely live with. Like, there's always, and my wife will probably shoot me for saying this, there's always other compatible people. There's like 4 billion of the opposite sex on the planet. I don't believe for 1 minute there isn't another compatible person out there. However, she's the best I'd ever seen, best I'd ever found, and ticked more boxes than anyone I ever met. And I was happy to commit. And once I've committed, and this is where it's so powerful, I now no longer have any form of focus on women anymore. I'm now able to focus purely on the mission and the empire, also with an added motivator of becoming someone that she could be proud of and building something together, which then elevates my ability and puts me in another gear. That was incredible for me. That distraction taken away from me. I have a solid home base where I never have to worry about the wife that I've got acting in a way that I'm not proud of. She supports me. We push her empire. She pushes my empire. Together, we're building something brilliant together. And then I'm able to fully laser in on the goals and the mission.
I want to talk about something that probably had another, I suppose, kick of motivation for you, right? You said you got 2 young boys. Mm-hmm. Tell me, life as a father, when your firstborn come along, how did that change things for you?
Do you want me to be brutally honest?
Yeah.
Brutally honest.
Yep.
I'm not one of these men that's turning around and be like, having children was the best thing that ever happened to me at the time. I'm going to say this right now. It's going to be very controversial. Having my first son was the hardest thing I'd ever done.
What?
Ever.
Why?
because all of a sudden I had someone in my life that had a higher level of responsibility than myself. And up until that point in my life, everything was built around the empire that I was trying to build, with my ability to build and make the constraints selfishly. Now I have this entity, my son, Morgan, comes into the picture. Now all of a sudden he's more important than me. And I found it unbelievably difficult to juggle and balance it. It's the hardest thing I've ever done in my entire life. At the time I was running 7 companies.
How old is Morgan now?
He's 4, nearly 5.
Okay, so you had him roughly about 28, 29?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Right? He was the hardest thing I've ever had to balance. I then suddenly had to be available whenever. I had to build my day around him, not around me. I struggled. For the first 6 months of him being born, I was in a really hard place. I found it tremendously difficult, even though my mother-in-law, my wife, my family were the most supportive, amazing people ever, and gave me, I was allowed to sleep at night. I didn't do a lot of the nappy changes. I was blessed, absolutely blessed. But the responsibility and the pressure of that, I found extremely difficult. Also at that point, when you have a child, as a father, there's only so much involvement that I felt I could have. Yes, I can be there as support. Yes, I can. Well, we weren't even bottle feeding, we're breastfeeding. So I wasn't even feeding Morgan. Every time you pick him up, he cries. I was like, whoa, have I made the right decision here? This is difficult. So it's not easy. And anyone that says building a business is hard, try having a business and a family and young kids. It's a fucking different thing entirely. Fast forward a bit. My son starts to look at me different. He suddenly starts to say my name, starts to be happy when I come in the room, starts to cuddle me more, suddenly starts to, really want me around a lot more. I now love that kid more than you could possibly ever imagine. And my second son, Hugo. It's now these things, I would jump out of a window, I'd run in front of a bus. There's nothing I wouldn't do for them. And it is now giving me a bigger motivator. But I can tell you for a fact at the start, that wasn't the case. It really wasn't the case. So I'm not going to sit here and glorify this. Some men are different. My brother, he had his daughter Lola. He was instantly besotted with her. Very different to me. Very different to me. I struggled. And juggling it all with the emotional side, with the logistical side, was hard. So don't take it lightly. If you are going to have a kid, that kid is your everything. You have to be a good role model. You have to be careful what you do, what you say. Now, because I'm that role model, I'm more accountable than I've ever been to act in a way that I would be proud for him to emulate.
What about your second born? So obviously, as you had, I know you just briefly mentioned it at the airport. As your second born would come, you've already lived this life of being a father for the first time. So when you're second born, how was that relationship with him?
So my second son definitely was a much faster process. Still very difficult in the beginning because, like I said, that initial period, I really struggled to create a emotional attachment to my son while all I could do was kind of rock him to sleep or, bottle feed at the right age. And all they want really is mummy at that point, right? That's it. So you're kind of a third wheel. But I knew what was coming with Hugo. And as a result, I knew that there would become a time where we'd be much closer, and it instantly allowed me to have a better connection with him rather than, whoa, what have I done? The logistics of having two is very difficult. They're 18 months apart. So it's 2 young boys that now tear up the house, but I love it, right? And for me, it's seeing them, giving them and providing them a life that I can be proud of as a father is honestly one of the best feelings in the world. And I honestly am so happy I got through that period to now be able to see the other side of it. But I thought I should share that because not everyone that hasn't had kids understands that. It's like people say you have this instant connection to your kid. Oh, I didn't have that. But now I have the strongest bond ever.
I think it's a natural thing with some people as well, to be fair. I think it's a natural thing.
No one talks about it.
Yeah, no one talks about it. And here's what I want to know as well, right? At the moment, at the age that they're at, you said Morgan is 4 years old, you said? 4, 5?
Nearly 5, yeah.
Nearly 5 years old. Right now in life, he's just, having the time of his life, essentially. Mm-hmm. At what age do they get to you where you think to yourself, right, I've got to start installing my beliefs and my sort of, the way I live my life within them, kind of teach them to be gentlemen from a young age? What age is that for you? Now.
So about 4. At that age, they have the ability to understand what you're saying. They're very inquisitive and copy everything that you're doing. So you as a man then suddenly becomes the person. They suddenly realize they're a boy. Whether they know it or not, if it's subconscious or conscious, they know they're a male. And then they start to emulate and mimic male behavior. Mm-hmm. So if I do something, they'll do something now. They copy. Yep. They don't copy my wife.
Yep.
And that just started happening without me even realizing. And I was like, oh, now's the time. I have to be very careful what I do, what I say, act in a manner that's going to
have a positive
impact and influence them in the right way.
Yep.
So it's very young, very, very young.
Okay. I thought to be fair, I haven't got kids, so I can't speak from a, perspective, but I thought it would have been around 8 years old, maybe another 4 or 5 years yet.
Way younger.
Okay.
Kids are smart.
Yeah.
Those kids are smart. They pick things up real fast, and it has a massive influence. And they say that by the time you're 7 or 8, your subconscious is fully developed. So by that point, it's almost too late. You've instilled in them all of their fundamental actions, thoughts, and belief systems that, yes, they can change, but it's very difficult.
Yeah. Fairs. Elliot, what means the most to you in life right now?
What means the most in life right now?
Yeah. You've got the money, you've got the wealth, you've got the relationships, and you've got the attributes of being a gentleman. So what genuinely means the most to you?
Honestly, trying to get people to understand that their life that they've been gifted is the most blessed thing they're ever going to have in their entire life. They've been put on this planet, in my opinion, for one chance. And everyone is trying to complete the game. When I really want to promote people to understand that every single day they wake up is the best thing about their life. And ultimately, when they get to the end of their life and they're sat around the banquet table and they're feasting with the people that they've conquered and built an empire with, the things that they're going to talk about is now. They won't be talking about the turkey and all the jewels and gems they've got on the table. They're going to be talking about what they did to get there. And I want people to just ground themselves in gratitude in every single day, understanding that it's not to complete the game, it's to create a game that they never want to stop playing. And you can build an amazing life and actually do a tremendous amount of positive impact along the way. And we're blessed. We are so blessed, and there's so much fear and there is so much negativity and so many victims out there, say victim mindsets out there, that are just squandering it. Mm-hmm. And honestly, I sound like a bit of a preacher. I genuinely want to help as many. I'm blessed. Yes, I want to earn a shed load of money. I want to become a billionaire. I want to do amazing things for myself. But I want to also have a huge amount of impact because it makes me happy.
Yeah.
There's a better way of playing this game. Genuinely there is. And it's not to sacrifice all the things that you think you might have to get that.
Yeah, you can do it all at the same time. Well, Elliot, I appreciate you very, very much for coming on the podcast and sharing your message and everything you've got to offer. If people want to find you, where can they do so?
You should put Elliot Wise into pretty much any social media
platform. You'll be there, yeah. No, look, guys, give Elliot a follow because I've been following him for a while, and I genuinely think that the message that he puts out there is very, very impactful to myself and other people as well. I've got friends of mine who follow you as well, and they're like, have you seen this guy? I'm like, yeah, I'm doing a podcast with him soon, We've been meaning to do this for a while, so I appreciate you coming down.
Thank you so much for having me. You're a gentleman. Thank you.
That means a lot.
You are.
A gentleman calling me a gentleman? Yeah, I'll have it. Guys, make sure you subscribe. Stay tuned for the next one, and I'll catch you lot on the next episode of CEOCAST. Peace.